Welcome. Tonight we have a multi-talented and well-versed professional creative in his field who's done numerous things. He's a filmmaker, creative director, photographer, wearer of many hats, podcaster as well, even a survivor. You were on Survivor as well, Jarrad, so that was really cool. So allow us to introduce Jarrad Seng tonight. Jarrad, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I know it's been a big day for you, so we'll try and get through everything as we can. But just want to mention straight off the bat, your hair.
Oh,
just better,
back at you.
Just better than mine. Like every one that I've interviewed so far, like whether they're multi-skilled, at least I had better hair than them tonight. You've beaten me at that as well.
I know you've got a strong game yourself. Yeah.
Now, so photography, it wasn't your original love, is what I've read into you a little bit. You started out as a musician, but even you were at law school.
Yeah. A lot of ways that my life could have gone.
Absolutely.
I started when I went after I finished school.
Yep.
I had pretty good grades, so it felt like the obvious thing would be to go to university and try something. Quite sophisticated, like law. And, you don't know what any of these things are like when you're in school. And all I'd known about law was, watching like Law and Order or The Practice, Boston Legal. Yeah. Nowadays it's like Suits or something like that. But that's what you thought a lawyer was. And then as the first year in law school, I was like, it's a bit different. Yeah. It's not really like
that. There's no fanfare.
No. So abandoned that pretty quickly.
Yep. And the music side of things, was that something early on, or was that something in your late teens that you started to pick up?
Yeah, I'd say late teens, kind of high school, university. I just had such a passion for music. I was always trying to find new music, find new bands. I was going to concerts every weekend. Yep. I started writing for music newspapers and anything I could to be involved with music, I was all for it. Yeah, right. And eventually that led to taking photos at concerts.
Yeah. So I from what I understand, your first experience forte in the photography game was actually at a music gig where you kind of bluffed your way through to get to the front, essentially.
I didn't know whether you're going to bring up that part. I kind of skipped over the bluff part.
Yeah.
but I did.
I should have done
that. Because I was writing, I was in that kind of music journalism field, and I was the editor of the music editor of my uni paper.
Yep.
So there was a big festival coming to Perth, and I thought, all right, I'll put myself down as a reviewer, as usual.
Yep.
But I remember filling in the form, and there was a little box that said, will you have a photographer with you as well?
Right.
So I went, I'm sure they'll know, but I'll just tick the box and see what happens. And then, to my surprise, a photo pass came in the mail. Nice. And I was like, why do I have this? Did they not check?
Yeah. And it was a big badge of honor to have the media pass, I assume, as well. Like at any gig, if anyone's got a media pass, like you're pretty cool.
Yeah. The only problem was I'd never, touched a camera before.
Yeah.
That's so I had to learn very quickly. Yeah. Actually, it's funny. He's my good friend now, but back in the day, this would be like 12, 13 years ago now, but I had really quickly had to learn how to use a camera. Yep. So I borrowed my friends, Googled how to take concert photography, and an article by Daniel Bowd came up, also a Canon shooter.
Another good photographer.
And I just read his blog, and then the next day just went off with a little camera.
Because it was a different game back then as well. Like you don't have the multiple stacked YouTube videos of how to every single camera.
No,
you would been like going off.
It was basically the only resource I could find was this one blog post.
And how did you find your first experience in photography? Is that where it kind of like, did things kind of click as a passion, but getting close to the band as well?
I think that's what it was. It made me realize. Well, firstly, maybe Dan's article taught me well, but it seemed pretty easy.
Yeah, right.
I was like, wow, like this is actually looking amazing. And I've just picked up a camera. But that's it, being close to the bands, being like right up front, like for me, it was just like, wow, this camera has unlocked access
Yeah.
to like a new way I can experience. Really, like later I'd realize experience everything.
Yeah.
But at the time I was like, wow, music, I'm now so much closer to the music than I was before. Like this is the way to do it. Not standing at the back of the room with a notepad writing notes for my review.
For
but
sure.
be up amongst it.
Yeah. And I just reading a bit about you as well. You started off doing like nightclub photography as well.
Yeah, darker days.
Yeah. In Brisbane was like Get a Nightlife. I don't know if like the WA equivalent was something similar where you just post album upon album on either Facebook.
Yeah. That's what I was doing.
Yeah. Wow.
There was a couple establishments in Perth that I'd frequent, and yeah, it was. I mean, the first couple nights I did that, I had the same feeling. Kind of, I was like, wow, I can't believe it's a job and someone's paying me to go around and clicking buttons.
Yeah.
Like it's great. And then, after maybe a week of it, I was like, oh.
Yeah, right.
It's not as fun as the first
it got old pretty quick.
It got old really quick. But I don't regret I did that for a while and I don't regret it because it teaches you so much when you have to grind it out in the jobs that aren't so fancy. You really learn how to deal with situations you don't want to, deal with people you don't want to.
Yeah.
You just, you're in the trenches.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And how did that that experience teach you when it comes to like paid photography versus doing stuff for free? Was that a starting out point where you're doing a lot of free stuff originally? Or were you getting paid pretty constantly for your work?
I mean, the nightclub stuff was the first time anyone paid me anything.
Yeah, right.
So that's why I was like, oh, wow, it can be a job. Very minimum wage, but it was something.
Yeah.
And but I mean, like I've it taught me the value of being paid for your work, but I've always also had the mindset that, I don't have to be paid for everything. If an opportunity presents itself, it's not just money that is. You're not just getting that as the value of your work. Other things like people don't like saying exposure, but some things I've done have been just for the exposure.
Yeah,
it's worked out.
Yeah,
but just meeting someone, sometimes knowing I'll take it. Even now I'll do something for free if I think that it'll mean I might be able to meet someone.
Yeah, right.
Or be in a room with someone with some really cool people and just say hello, and then maybe 2 years later they'll remember me and invite me on.
That's cool.
So,
that's cool, and that's a good
it's a fine line.
Playing the long game, essentially.
It's just fun. I just love meeting new people and getting kind of insights into different worlds and industries. So,
obviously, one very important part or facet of your industry is the networking component, right? So, getting you've had some pretty massive opportunities with music photography, but how do you get in with the bands? Let's say, as it progressed from a music festival point of view, and then you sent a few images to bands and they've been happy with your work. How has that developed from the bands to the artists from actual festival per se?
So the festival stuff that just opened my eyes to everything. But what I used to do, and this was quite a long time ago, around the time the 7D Canon 7D came out, because suddenly
that original
I could
7D
switch one button and record video.
Yeah,
and that part really opened up my world to working with musicians, because what I would do is if I saw a band was coming to town, I would send them a message somehow. Maybe maybe Facebook. It was Facebook back then.
Yeah.
Maybe it was MySpace is too far.
Maybe a bit far back. Yeah.
And I'd say, hey, I see you that you're coming to Perth. I think Matt Corby was the very first video I ever recorded. Because I saw he was playing a little show, a backyard show. And I just got in touch and said, if you got 10 minutes, I've got a camera that can record video now. Let's just walk over the road, record something.
Yeah, wow.
One take, and you don't have to do anything. And I started doing that. But once I had that, it's actually how I met. Kind of what I name dropped Matt Corby to Passenger when I met him.
Right.
And he was busking on the street.
Yeah.
Playing a tiny show. So I said, I shot a video with Matt Corby the other day, and I know you know him. Should we do one as well?
Yeah.
And then he kind of just keep name dropping more and more. And back then, you know, we just do silly things like actually Brisbane's Ballpark Music.
Yep.
I met them the same way. I
Yep.
didn't know them at all.
Yep.
Saw they were playing in my hometown.
Mhm.
I was like, you know, there's some shopping trolleys around the back of the venue.
Yep.
Do you want to like roll around in shopping trolleys and shoot a video?
Yeah,
so that's
wow.
still up there on YouTube. It's like Sam and Jen and Dean just pushing like a
Yeah.
trolley through the thing.
I've heard some of your crazy projects as well. That 24 hours of portraits. Do you want to explain like a way to like network or meet people or force yourself to meet people? Do you want to explain what you did?
Yeah, I mean that one wasn't so much to meet people. Some of the characters you meet at 3 a.m.
Yeah, questionable.
But I think back in the early days, I just wanted everything to be exciting and fun, and not quite stunts, but I wanted to do things that were projects and that you could talk about. I didn't want to just take random photos. So if someone approached me, for example, that one was for the Perth Fashion Festival, and they said, we want you to fill a window full of something, whatever you can do anything you want.
Just gave you free license.
Yeah, but like window art for a month. I was like, okay, what can we do here?
Yeah.
What's really memorable? I was like, what's a challenge? 24 hours? I reckon I can do it. Like it worked out to be one portrait every 4 minutes or 5 minutes. For 24 hours straight. So just roaming around. And, I actually am quite an introverted person. So doing things like that really force you to, learn how to turn it on when you need to.
Yeah, for sure. And for a whole 24 hours as well.
Because it's a challenge. You just have to do it. You can't be like, oh, well, I'm going to stop now.
Yeah.
Like, I've told everyone 24 hours. I just have to do it now.
Got to follow through.
Yeah.
Do you find the camera is a tool that unlocks the ability in you to converse with people or network, or is that something you've naturally had?
No, I don't think it's something I naturally had at all. And it's projects like that, the 24-hour one, or I did versions of that sort of thing when I travel as well. In the early days, when I went to Europe for the first time, I said, I have to take one portrait of a stranger every day, no matter what. And, at the start, I'd stand at the train station kind of awkwardly in the corner, just like looking at people, being like, maybe, it was really, it was a hard thing to do.
Yeah,
You're not naturally like that. And then by the end of it, I'd be like, person, walk up to him. And because you have the camera in your hand, it does give you that superpower, because you have a reason to talk to someone.
Yeah.
And, they can just say no, but it's
for sure.
But without the camera,
it's a
whole different story.
Yeah,
then you are. The funny thing, really, in that project was, the early days were really just me standing awkwardly around, and I'd be in my head, I'd be like, okay, I want to look for the weirdo, because I want to photograph.
Yeah, for sure. A while, someone interesting.
I'm the weirdo, I know. I'm the one standing on the street looking at people. I'm the weird one.
Now that's taken you on some pretty unreal locations around the world as well with traveling. So that's something that seems to be a huge passion of yours.
Mm-hmm.
There was probably a bit there where you probably weren't coming home much at all in those days. Is that something you've maintained now that travel market has opened up again, and why traveling is something that resonates so deeply within you?
I just love experiencing new things, new people, new environments. I think I start losing a little bit of inspiration when I stay in the same place for too long. But when there's so many new things, around you all the time, it does make you want to capture it.
Yep.
And that's where it all stems from. Just you just want to like freeze that moment.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
And so it sounds like you've been to Iceland a bunch of different times. Even were you running workshops at one stage in Iceland as well for photography?
Yeah. There was a period.
How did that come
about? I have a really close friend, Benjamin Hardman, who's also a Perth boy. But we bonded over our Iceland adventures, and eventually we just started going there together.
Yeah, right.
And then we thought, this would be a great place to teach other people photography in the most stunning place in the world.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of years where we would multiple times a year, just, people would fly in from around the world to Iceland and travel around with us. I really love the kind of the teaching aspect of it as well, because I think I've learned so many things through these adventures, and not just related to photography, but kind of life lessons through all the silly situations I've been thrown into. It does teach you a lot.
There's definitely a theme that I think was developing when I was researching you, and the things that the challenges essentially that you enjoy. So it wasn't just the end result all the time. It was working hard to get it. And just hearing about the story in South Africa for one, where everyone else was sleeping. It was a trip. And then
the midnight hike.
Yes. And you got up at midnight because you thought no one else would get up at midnight essentially to take the photo.
Exactly.
You want to tell us a bit about that story?
Yeah, I don't think I included that photo in the folder, but there's just so many memories like this, you know. It's what we said. I was traveling with a group. And, you know, there's some friendly competition when you're with a group of photographers. You know,
yeah, for sure.
Everyone's kind of taking the same photo. We're on the same spot.
Yep.
So I used to always, try and think, what's the one photo that no one else will be able to do, or have the, you know, be crazy enough to put that much effort into it. And, you know, an easy way to do that is being awake at a time that no one else will be awake.
Ridiculous now.
But, you know, I've seen so many photos of Table Mountain, and this kind of applies to any, you know, landmark or famous location, because it will have been shot millions of times before you. But something I always tell myself now is, the other thing is I don't love hiking. I'm quite exercise adverse. Naturally, I would never do any of these things if it wasn't for the photo involved.
Yeah, right.
But what I have to keep telling myself when I'm using my iPhone torch going up Table Mountain in the dark, I'm like, each step I take is another step that someone probably has been. Oh, that's enough. Yeah, let's stop. Yeah, so that's how I motivate myself. Jeez. And the same with, you know, any location or landmark. I'm like, just walk the other way so long that everyone else would have stopped.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you have a unique view. Or stay up later than someone else, or, you know, there's ways that you can still have a unique kind of perspective on something if you put in enough effort.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a really good tip for a lot of people at home as well that want to know about the creative process of Jarrad. And what would you say is your driver when it comes to your creative process? How do you like, I've had Damien Bradburn that's come on before, and he just puts on music, some opera scores. He's got a bottle of wine, and essentially that's how he's writing down his creative ambitions. What's yours look like, Jarrad?
I don't know. I think inspiration can come from everywhere, really. Music obviously is a big part of what I do. So like, I love just putting on headphones, especially because I travel so much, especially and with music tours, you're in a new city almost every day. And the first thing I'll normally do is put on headphones, put on my soul playlist, and just walk the streets. And kind of, I think music just puts this glow over everything.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, my friends, I have so many creative, talented friends that do really amazing stuff. So that, you know, just watching what they do pushes me as well. I'm like, God, look at you guys smashing it. I got to do some stuff as well.
Yeah, you can't really fall behind when they're doing
it. No, it's good. I spend so much time with Passenger, musician, who is the reason I'm in Brisbane right now. He's a really inspiring guy to me as well. His mindset. You know, we both met at a time where we were trying to make things happen and maybe making very small progress, but it wasn't really going off. So, you know, I've known him since the early days of him busking on the street. We would sometimes travel 3 hours to a gig and maybe 10 people would show up. Yeah, wow. And watching his determination and drive and discipline to just like keep going. Yeah. And then you just keep going long enough, the break will come, you know, your break will come. You just have to keep going.
That's awesome.
It'd be really weird if it didn't, you know.
Yeah,
if you work so hard, you're nice to everybody, have a good attitude, you work on your skill. I reckon it would be super unlucky if you didn't get a break.
Yeah, for sure.
That attitude,
Case in point, I think, with how things have turned out, and something that must be pretty awesome that you've accomplished that together, like knowing that you now can take these photos of these gigs that are absolutely packed to the rafters, and he's come from that level and you've come from possibly a level of doubting your own abilities to some point.
Yeah.
Now you're accomplishing these huge things together. That must be pretty damn
cool. It's cool, you know. Obviously, he's skyrocketed. I'm still probably like, yeah. But it is really nice to look back and be like, man, we're doing a lot differently than we did when we first met.
For sure. Yeah. The keys to music photography or doing concert photography. What's something that do you go by the same sort of tips and tricks when you checking out a scene, or how does it work out for you? Does it unfold? Do you pick the best locations previous to the shoot? What's your
for music? It depends on who I'm working with. If I've shot with them before, with Passenger right now, you know, it's a similar show that happens on stage, you know, every night.
Sure.
So what I'm looking for always is what will make tonight different.
Right.
And there's a number of things you can do. Sometimes I'll be using a new lens and just kind of restrict myself. All right, we've shot the show so many times.
Yep.
How about we do an entire show tonight on this 50mm and nothing else?
Yeah, right.
That's one way you can kind of make things different.
Yep.
The venue is what will always change. So I would love to highlight the venue, and you know, and it doesn't just happen instantly. It's like you were talking about. It's like scoping out angles before the show.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, you know, if you want to do it properly, there is a pre-production process.
Sure.
So and here it's regulated a little bit more. Yeah. But some of the shadier venues in maybe Eastern Europe.
Those international gigs.
I'll just be looking at the roof and finding out where could I possibly get myself to for a unique angle. I've had some really like fun exploration ventures with venues where I've ended up like in the roof looking straight down, and I'm definitely not meant to be there.
Yeah, right.
You're just always looking for ways to make it different.
That's again touching on like the ability that the camera gives you. It almost have that. Yeah, it's okay. I'm the photographer.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I got
this. Speaking on the you're an ambassador with Canon now as well, which is really cool. You've been doing that for quite a while. I think the first time I saw you was the EOS R announcement video.
Right.
I reckon that's the first time I saw eyes on you. But you've got a bit of a funny story when it came to contacting Canon when you had a mishap with I did.
There was nearly a mishap on that EOS R shoot as well.
Yeah, right. I didn't show that in the behind.
Well, there was it's probably too long to explain. But anyway, we really had to protect that one prototype camera.
Yeah.
Like, don't do anything silly. Like this needs to go to the next person and the next person. Like there's only one of these around. But what we were shooting was like a samurai swordsmith.
Yes.
I thought, I mean, the obvious thing is to get the sparks flying at the camera.
For sure. For sure.
So there was a lot of nervous faces and I was kind of using the camera to protect my own face. So I was like this spark.
That's your goggles. That's your goggles. Yeah, wow.
But yeah, that original story, I was in New Zealand and
waiting for a helicopter.
Waiting for a helicopter to pick us up. It was for a tourism job, and I was with a few people, and I think I ran out of battery, I forgot a tripod. Like this always happens. Like you know, by the end of the trip, you're just running on fumes.
Yeah.
But there was one last shot that I really wanted to get, which was me standing on this cliff edge. So I was like, I just need a camera. Can I please borrow a camera? And so I borrowed a camera and tripod from a friend.
Yeah.
Ran away from the group, which was quite far away, so they couldn't see me at all doing this. I was just by myself, set up camera and tripod on one rock edge, and then I wanted to, and no one was with me, so I had to do a 10-second timer.
Yeah, right.
Very common for me.
Yep.
Hit the timer, ran to the other edge, and as soon as I took one step, I just kicked the whole camera off the cliff. And he was like tumbled down. I watched it go down, like the tripod leg snapped off, and no one could see me, and no one had known this had happened.
Right. So you got no witnesses.
So I'm like, what do I do here?
Yeah.
And it didn't look that far, so I thought, okay, I'll climb down I'll try and retrieve it. Maybe the camera still works.
Yep.
I had thongs on as well, so I was like trying to climb down this cliff face. Got to the camera. Tripod was dead. Camera still turned on. It just was banged up.
Yep.
Like, okay, at least I've retrieved it.
Yep.
Start climbing back up. Got stuck halfway. Holding camera in one hand. My thongs are getting caught on the rocks. That's when the helicopter arrived.
Yeah, you can see it coming through.
One circle around me because obviously I look like what is this guy doing?
So.
I got back to the group and I had to tell my friend Julesy, I was like, okay, I know like to you've just sat here for like 20 minutes and nothing's happened. But I've been on an adventure and your camera is broken.
Yeah, wow.
And she was like, well, it's okay, but actually it's not my camera. It's Canon have given it to me on loan.
Yeah, wow.
Like, okay, email us together, say I'll pay for everything, I'm sorry, blah, blah. So then later, my other friend Lauren set up email. And they were like, and Canon, the reply from Canon was, okay, well, don't worry about it. It's insured. Just send it back.
Yeah.
By the way, we checked out your work. Do you want to look into doing some work for us?
Nice.
So that one timer mishap, camera off the cliff, is what put me in touch with Canon in the first place.
The ways you network these days.
Yeah.
Jeez. No, that's awesome. And how long's the partnership been now with Canon?
Oh, I don't know. That would have been. It must have been like 8 or 9 years ago was when that happened. Yeah. But I've been working quite closely with Canon maybe for the last 5 years or so. Yeah. I've always shot Canon. It was the first camera I ever had was a 40D.
Yeah, right. And that was Daniel Johns. I've seen a nice image that you taken of Daniel Johns as well, which look really epic. I think you still rate that as one of your best photos.
Oh, really? Nice. I should move it up the portfolio.
Yeah, it's
ladder.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got the emotion in his face. Yeah. It's a really nice image. Yeah. So your gear now, Jarrad, what's in your bag for a trip? What are you using gear-wise?
Well, what I brought on this music tour at the moment, it changes. It depends. If it's a more fashion-focused shoot or portrait, I might take some lighting gear with me. But the bare bones stuff is R5, Canon R5 as my main camera. Yep. I still have the EOS R. Yep. My B camera, but I might upgrade that to the R6, I think. Okay. Quite soon. Yep. And 3 main lenses, 50mm 1.2, 70-200 2.8, and 15-35 2.8. Cool. They're in heavy rotation. Yeah, right. That's all I'll use normally for a shoot, but you've got some other things on standby if I need.
Sweet. And how did the focal lengths come about? Is that something that's your rotation most days, or like how do you change your focal length?
Oh wait, I forgot one. 2870 f2.
2870.
Yeah.
F2,
I actually don't use it so much. Yeah, right. But if I have to just take one lens, if I'm traveling light, well, it's actually a massive lens. But if I just want to take one lens, one body, it'll be R5 with 2870.
And what do you like about the Canon cameras, essentially? Why did you have a resonance towards Canon in your early days? Is there something that triggered that? Did you like the way the system was designed? Do you like the lenses?
Yeah, I mean, it really came. I just liked. That was the first camera I borrowed from my friend. Was I think a 450D, and it just made sense. I liked how it felt in my hand. Yeah. It the menu system made sense. The buttons seemed to be in places they should be. Yeah. And straight off the bat, your preview on the back of the screen looks really nice with the colors. So that was it, really. Yeah. Not that I knew that much about cameras when I first started, but I with my friends had Canon as well, so you could swap lenses, and I've just stuck with it ever since.
Other thing I want to touch on as well. Tell us about home for you, because I know you've been someone that's spent a lot of time traveling, a lot of time going into these new experiences and new places. But I felt in some of the interviews that I've seen you give that, during that time where traveling wasn't an option, you actually spent a lot of time back home and discovering things around you that were epic and amazing. Do you want to tell us why you like why Western Australia is so significant to you and your journey.
Yeah, I mean, I love Western Australia. It's I was born in Newman, which is a mining town way up north.
Shout out Newman.
Yeah. Shout out Newman. They probably don't get too many shout-outs.
Nice. Well, this is important.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just love Perth, you know. And there's always been the temptation to, well, maybe early days, or maybe other people might have told me you should probably move over east if you want more opportunities. Sure. I always stuck to my guns. I thought I'd rather, you know, be in a smaller place, you know, get to know everybody, shoot for everybody, and just kind of make my name there, and then go out. But Western Australia it has every kind of landscape you can imagine. Yeah. Love the people, love everything. Yeah, there's lots of inspiration that comes from there.
Yeah, beautiful. The other thing too that I've quickly learned about you is the challenges in your shooting experience. If something becomes a bit too easy for you, it becomes quite boring, which is different, I guess, to the usual photographer who could have just, you know, stuck to weddings day in, day out, just shot weddings for the next 20 years. Why doesn't something like that appeal to you as a steady paycheck? What made you want to challenge yourself all the
time? I mean, I think it just comes down to why I even decided to pursue photography. It wasn't to make money. I'm fairly sure the lawyer route would have been a wiser option if I wanted to make money.
I think that's the position in you as well, Jarrad.
So it just always comes back down to that. It's like, why am I doing this? You know, it's not for the pay packet, and it's not to, I don't know. I think like it's always been about what experiences can I have because of this camera in my hand. And I love just new things happening all the time. You know, and if I was doing the same thing over and over again, then it would really become a job. You know, and that's not why I do it. It's to, you know, there's so many things you can do with a camera. Every day, like the possibilities grow. So I think, if you have the chance to chase all these different adventures and experiences, like, go for it. It's about the process, you know. It's not about the fight. Even it's so many times I've tried to get a photo. I've had a photo in mind. Maybe I had to hike at sunrise for hours and hours to get it. And so many times it doesn't work out. You know, you get to the top of the mountain and then it's just grey. And you think, what was the point of that? And you just start learning that, well, it doesn't always have to be about that end frame. That kind of single image you get. You have to be okay with that journey and the story. And even though I said I hate hiking, which I do, but I love the story. I love that I've made myself get out of bed and run around and you know, experience something that was a bit silly and didn't make sense. And I'll always have that memory and that experience that I've done that. And I might not have the photo at the end of it, but I've had that
exactly right.
Just, you know, sleep in and
exactly. Could have taken the easy option. What I'm learning is more about, for you, the journey than it is the destination on most occasions, which is really cool.
And hopefully both work out. Hopefully. There was a recent photo, actually, only from a couple months ago, when I was in
Russell East.
It's the Foggy Mountain one. I mean, it will reveal the end of the story when you show it. But basically, I was in Italy a few months ago by myself and hiking. There was this image that I had in mind that I really wanted to get in the Dolomites. And quite an amazing image that I've seen some of my friends do. So I really wanted to get that. Set out on my hike, you know, quite hard going up and down the mountain, and then it was just foggy the entire time. Couldn't see anything. Visibility just got worse and worse. I could hardly see anything. And there were like other photographers, you know, around as well. We were all trying to get the same shot. But it just wasn't happening. And as time went on, other photographers would leave. You know, we'd kind of laugh about it because it was pretty funny. And we'd all come here to get this photo. None of us could get it. So we were like, okay, calling it. I'm going home. And like people would start dropping off.
Right.
And it'd been like 4 or 5 hours, and finally I was ready to call it. And all that was left was me and this wedding couple. And their photographer. They'd eloped, and just us. We're just standing there, being like, the sun has already set, and we still can't see anything. It's probably time to go. So I actually did give up, and I said, "See you guys." I walked away, but I couldn't see anything, and I thought I was walking home. But then after 10 minutes, I just heard their voices again, and I was like, I've walked in a circle, haven't I? But at that moment, the clouds just parted, and you could see these like towering peaks in the distance that we'd been waiting for hours and hours.
Yeah. Is that this one here?
It's not that one. That's a funnier story. It was that blue one.
Oh, yeah, this one here. Come on.
Yeah, so we're at that point in the story where the clouds part. I put my camera on the tripod, intervalometer. It's quite far away, as you can see the camera to where I am.
Epic.
So I had to the battery was flashing. I was like, all right, I was going to try it. Started it, sprinted all the way there. I was out of breath, just standing on the mountain, just like. Is this on
a 10-second timer? Or you got a remote here?
That one would be impossible. I was like on an intervalometer, taking a photo every 3 seconds, I think.
Nice.
And in my head, I thought, it's got to die before I get there.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, got it, and that was good. It happened at the right time.
It's a beautiful photo.
For me to
we got the screen there, Jarrad. That'll help us a lot, I think.
Yeah, help me learn the lesson that just stick it out.
Yeah,
it might happen, but then it might not. And if it didn't, I met this interesting wedding couple, and we shared a laugh about how silly our life choices were.
Yeah, I know.
But sometimes it does pay off, and that's why you stick it out. And that was my reward for staying that long. 20 other people had tried to get it, and they all went home and probably had a better night's sleep.
Yeah, for sure. But
sometimes you can strike gold.
Yeah, awesome. We'll go through some of these images, Jarrad, if you don't mind.
Well, that was the YOLO photo I was talking about before.
Oh, that's the samurai EOS R.
Yeah,
brilliant.
That's the sparks going directly into the lens. That's an interesting one from Vietnam in the world's largest cave, and actually Canon supported me on this trip.
Yeah, awesome.
I'd seen photos of other people going there.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I just knew that I needed to be in this cave.
Yeah.
5-day hike through one cave. So it's massive and quite exclusive. It was quite hard to get in, limited spots. And I remember applying for a spot.
Yeah, right.
And they really hammered in that you had to be super fit to do this trip.
Right.
There's so many questions. How many times you go to the gym?
Yeah.
How many times you go for runs? But etc. And the real answer was 0, 0, 0, 0.
So you've blocked your way through again.
I want to go.
Yeah.
So I was like, often. And then as it got closer and closer to the trip, I thought, oh my God, what if I actually do need to be super fit and I'm the guy at the back holding everybody up?
Yeah.
I cannot be that guy. So what I started doing is I started actually going for runs in Perth.
Yep.
And my favorite, what I ended up doing was running around this big park, Hyde Park, and I tried to tell myself, okay, every day you got to do 10 laps around this park.
Yeah.
First day was all right, hated it, but I was like, okay, just got to do it. After a few days, it's like, what I found myself doing was cutting corners.
Cheating yourself, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. But I never thought about it that way. And then, I didn't. The point of this story is that it made me think about creativity differently. When I started cutting corners, I started thinking, well, that's stupid.
The product isn't as good.
The only reason I'm doing this is to make myself fitter. So if I just cheat, then the whole point of it is wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
And that made me think about creativity and photography in a much different light. It made me realize, like we were talking about before, if you keep doing the same thing, that's easy, and you just keep doing it, if you keep just cutting corners and never going the extra distance, you will never learn anything new. You will never grow. You'll never learn new skills. You won't get out of this kind of box that you've set for yourself.
Yeah.
So you have to be uncomfortable, and you have to go through uncomfortable things, because that's a sign that you're actually doing something new.
And you're growing.
And you're just super comfortable all the time. Great, it could be great, but what are you really doing if you go to the gym and lift just the exact same amount of weight?
Yeah.
I'm really stretching because I haven't been to a gym still. So like, I imagine if you did go to the gym, you wouldn't for 10 years lift the same. So
yeah, for sure.
I don't really know the jargon.
Dumbbell?
Yeah. You're still on. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Yeah. A good point on this as well, and how you're talking is there is a pressure every time you do something good, and then like a big company gets on board, like a Canon or someone in the tourism industry, like another country employing you essentially. You've talked about the kind of Jarrad effect of being who you are, and everyone wants a photo from a Jarrad Seng type photo. How do you deal with those pressures when you go to a new location and you're like, there's a bit of pressure riding on this? Like, you've talked about it not getting easier, essentially it gets harder.
Yeah, it does. As you learn new things and as you progress through your career and level up, then the pressure also
starts to mount.
Now you have to deliver, and in some ways it is harder, because when you first started out, no one has any expectation of you. And if you do something good, it's like, oh, well done. I wasn't expecting.
That's right.
Now it's like, if you do something average, that's actually that's not performing. It has to be great every time. I don't know how I deal with it. It's just something I think everyone, even I talk a lot about this kind of thing with Passenger as well. We talk about it's one thing to get your big break, but then it's the harder thing actually is to maintain it and not to start slipping. But I think it just goes with what we were talking about before about just keep learning all the time. Like even now, like I know so much more than I did 1 year ago, skills wise. And I think, you'll never, reach a ceiling, I think. Or every time I think I'm like, okay, I feel like I know how to do most things.
Yeah.
If I look back to, 2021, even 2020, I'm like, I know so much more.
Yeah.
And I can do so many more things and so use so many more techniques than even a year ago. Like it's constantly, and that's just from
really cool.
Sometimes you're forcing yourself to learn, but it's also just taking on new challenges, taking on different kinds of jobs, and saying yes to a few things that maybe you're a bit scared to do. And as soon as you've done it, you absorb that into your skill set, and then next time you try, it's not so hard.
Kind of like a multiplier effect with your work. I like it. Cool. I've got some more photos. This photo here, Jarrad, if you want to quickly touch on this, if you haven't already.
That is Iceland, and that is that reveals the end of the story. So there's 2-3 people here in the photo,
right?
But this is road tripping around Iceland, and I love hunting for the Northern Lights. Get a real thrill out of it. And then this scene kind of like unfolded in front of me. It's at Jökulsárlón. If anyone's been there, there's like this hill. You'll know it if you've been there. And this, that green band just started forming right in front of this hill silhouette. And I was like, oh my, this would just be the most romantic photo.
Yeah.
This would be an amazing shot. I just need like,
need some subjects.
Yeah. And in my head, like me and my girlfriend standing there would be amazing. Did not have my girlfriend there with me. Did have Benjamin Hardman.
Nice.
So I was like, hey Ben, if I pull my jacket out a little bit, it would look like a dress as a silhouette, wouldn't it? I was like,
genius.
Benny boy.
Yeah.
We're going up the hill.
Genius.
Standing at the top of the hill with a remote. And as you know, for nighttime photography, it's a very slow shutter situation. So, me and Ben was like holding hands.
Yep.
Ben, it's going to be 30 seconds. You know this. Stay very still.
Awesome.
So we're just silently standing there holding hands. And obviously you got to take few shots to make sure you've got it.
Oh, for sure.
So it was quite an intimate moment we shared.
Yeah.
Watching the aurora together.
Yeah, I reckon. It's huge. And then looking at the back of the screen, you both been wetting yourselves as well, but also at the same time. That's pretty cool.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
And I've got so many experiences like that with Benjamin. And that's when I look back to what my favorite days of photography, it was around then, around 2016, 17.
Yeah, right.
Just road tripping with my mates.
Yeah.
You know, no one, it's not a job at all. We just wanted to do it. We wanted to see these things. So we would just make it happen.
Yep.
Really look back at those days.
Awesome.
Finally.
And that goes without saying, like, how important like photography as a community can be as well. And having creative.
Yeah, it's about having someone there with you, and like we were both learning so much together.
Yep.
So it just felt really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He's one of my favorite photographers ever, Benjamin Hardman. If you haven't heard of him, just look him up now. Was that
he the accountant? Or
yes, he was. Yeah, when I first met him, it was
Yeah.
like we first Skyped, and he was at it was after hours. He was in the office at his computer doing some tax
Plugging
filing, and we were planning our Iceland trip.
Yeah, wow.
And now he's great. He's gone wild.
Awesome.
He's insane.
That's really cool. Now, is this from your series of scars series? This image here, Jarrad?
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
So the story of scars. This was in partnership with Canon.
Yep.
Shot last year, maybe the year before. No, it was last
2021,
year.
I think.
Yeah. So it was a personal portrait project that I've always wanted to do, and Canon gave me the opportunity to and some funds to be able to actually do it properly.
Yep.
You know, travel around WA, film it, turn it into a story.
Yep.
And it's an idea I've had for a while. I'm just fascinated by the idea that there is a story behind every little or big scar, and it could be a very silly story.
Yeah.
You could have just fallen over.
Yeah. Or
you could have been attacked by a crocodile.
Yeah.
Or like you never know, and everyone will always remember.
Yeah.
You know what happened. You know, I'll look down and be like, oh, that's when I gave my sister a piggyback, and then we fell over when I was 10. I've got scars on my back from Survivor. From scratches, sleeping in the mud.
That was like one of the most, the best, worst experience of your life, being on Survivor to some degree.
Yeah, it was very brutal. But anyway, there's a whole series of photos here, and I hope to keep going with it. And what it is, it's just revealing these stories behind the scars that everybody has. I find that through the photography medium and film, it just allows you this opportunity to hear these stories where you might not otherwise.
Sure.
It's opened up this whole world, and everybody has such an inspirational, fascinating story.
Yeah.
So that was part one of the project, and I hope to keep it going. I want to go that was just in WA, but I want to go all around Australia.
You're taking applications for part 2, which is really cool.
Yeah. It's a bit weird to anyone got a scar?
Yeah.
But if anyone does, hit me up, because I'm going to be shooting a lot more of this.
One of the last questions I'll ask you, Jarrad, is how you juggle the commercial side versus the creative side, because you've touched on projects that you've had in the works for quite some time, but you've also got to get paid to some degree as well.
Yeah.
How do you go about juggling? Are you quite selective with the work now?
I'm quite selective. It is hard, and that's every artistic person, I think, will struggle with that.
Yeah.
The entire career, that will never stop, trying to find the right balance between creative and commercial. And it gets into this gray area. And I think actually when you become more successful, it actually becomes harder, because when you first start out, it's not like you can be doing anything else anyway. No one wants to hire you.
Yeah,
so you
sure.
do exactly what you want to do.
Sure.
And you always think, oh my God, when I'm successful, I'll be able to do everything. But you don't realize you actually are doing it all now.
Yeah.
And then as you get more successful, the opportunity cost of going to Africa for 3 weeks, it's like, I could, but then I'll miss out on this job and this job and this job. And then what I find often is I get to the end of the year, I'm like, I've taken a lot of photos for other people. I've made them look very cool.
Yeah.
What have I done for myself? So it is something I struggle with, but I am trying to, through projects like The Story of Scars, trying to kind of bring it back. And now it's hard because, you know, when people ask me to shoot something, it's usually very cool these days.
Yeah, for sure. In some crazy location.
It's really hard to say no, but I do really have to force myself to say, maybe I don't need to do that. And maybe, you know, if I want to leave a legacy of my work, you know, it has to be my own stuff. It can't be all photos of Passenger.
Yeah.
As much as I love him.
And probably the last question I'll ask, with your process, obviously you're thinking of other stuff while you're working on current stuff as well. How do you stay invigorated, I guess? Is it the creativity that drives you, or is it you do take your downtime when you need it? What's some tips out there for people that are juggling a lot of things on their plate as creatives?
I'm the wrong person to ask. I feel like I'm just constantly juggling everything. But, you know, I think you just gotta, you know, really ask yourself, what's the reason that you're doing everything?
Yep.
You know, and there'll be different reasons for different jobs or different pursuits, but they should still always be a reason.
Yep.
Is it because you need that money from that job to go on this trip to do your other stuff? Or is it because this will give me access to this new world? And they always just, you have to just keep asking, why am I doing this? Why? Because sometimes you do end up in a rut and you're like, well, actually, there is no real good reason why I'm still shooting this nightclub.
Sure.
You know, maybe like, what am I getting out of it? Not much money. I've learned everything I need to.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to drop it. You just got to always assess and audit, I think, you know, the reason behind what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, you know, a noble, you know, artistic pursuit every time, but as long as it does make sense, then, you know, I think it's good. But I think we often all find ourselves doing things that actually don't make that much sense.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's really good advice. Now, how do people find you, Jarrad? Instagram, YouTube, what you're doing? Still doing the podcasting these days as well, Canon Convos?
Every now and then, yeah. There's a lot of old episodes. If you want to go through, I talk to mostly my friends.
I think they're really good. Really
I did have my own I've published one episode of my own podcast 3 years ago and have not published the 20 others.
Yeah.
One day I'll get around to it. Yeah. But if you want to listen to one episode of a podcast series, search my name and you'll find a really interesting conversation with Passenger, actually.
Nice.
So, but Instagram, I suppose, is
Jarrad Seng on Instagram. Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Jarrad. I know you're really pressed for time, but we really appreciate the time that you have given us. Really informative.
It's really cool.
Very likable guy. It's a nice human. Thanks for joining us tonight on Canon on the Couch. If you want to stay up to date with the latest news, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good evening. Thanks for joining us. Cheers.